How do you sort out the so-called jargon from real-world practices that work? Do the members of your organization find some business or technology advice utterly confusing? Welcome to Real Talk with Sam Holcman. In this program, we set the record straight, and in terms that business people and technology people can understand. Now, here is your host, Sam Holcman.
Welcome to this edition of Real Talk. I'm Sam Holcman, and the topic for today is here we go again. It refers to a July 6th article that I was reading, and the title of the article is Hackers Already Infiltrate EV Chargers. EV Chargers. It could get worse. So here we go again, where we have a electronic device that is programmed. This is not legacy software here. This is not anything to do with mainframes or COBOL or all these other things that we're seeing. And already there is a major issue. And as a matter of fact, the article talks about the possibility, not probability, but the possibility that some of these flaws can take down the whole electric grid because the software is that weak. Now, here's what I want to suggest to you. Is anyone doing root cause analysis? It doesn't seem like it. What we're deploying is the whack-a-mole approach to security. Lots of different phrases that you can use. The horses are already out of the barn. Now we're trying to figure out how to lock the barn. This is all after-the-fact activities. The root cause of all of this is antiquated, poor software development practices, as I refer to it, maturity level 1. And all we keep doing is adding more and more patches and wondering why nothing has changed. And this goes across the industry and government. Setting new security standards is not the issue. I think it'll help, but the root cause is poor software development practices. We need to have, if you're going to talk about regulations that essentially address the poor software development practices and require software developers and software vendors and certification agencies, when they're building software, to build them in a way that has a baseline for addressing and managing change so somebody can audit it. But we don't have any of that. So we use this whack-a-mole approach to this situation. And of course, this is just talking about one electronic unit, which is these EV chargers, electric vehicle chargers. And all the way up and down the line, from the administration in Washington, D.C. to the manufacturers, everybody's looking at establishing security standards. I want to stress again, no issue there, but it's after the fact. We got to get it in front of this. Why do we have security issues? Because the software is flawed. And we have to address those software development practices to make this, essentially happen. People have very short memories. Anybody remember in 2021 when we had the Colonial Pipeline situation? There's an example. Big example. This country was shaking in its boots because of this thing. And the attack ended once the company paid millions of dollars in ransom. I'm going to ask a rhetorical question. Anybody do some analysis to figure out if anything happened after that? Was software development changed? What was the hack? Was it? Did anyone actually figure out what the issue was? Or is this vulnerability sitting there on other pipelines, for example? And again, it's looking at not pointing fingers. It's the whole industry. The thing that troubles me is that everyone seems to be in this together. Nobody's taking a stand and saying, forget the back activities. In other words, figuring out what to do after a breach occurred. Let's take a breath. Let's take 0.1% of the money that's being spent in this area and look at software development practices that will eliminate this. Somebody should be paying attention because there's a huge opportunity here across the industry. And it's yet not just from a situation where it's one vendor or another, or one software activity or another. Again, let's stop the excuses. Let's take a breath and figure out what we need to do. And quite simply, we have to look at the software development practices that have not changed in decades. I don't care if you're using Agile programming or Ruby on Rails or pink or blue or yellow or whatever it is. It's handcrafting is the issue. We are handcrafting. Doesn't matter if it's handcrafting quickly, Agile, or handcrafting slowly, which is waterfall. Let's spend just a little bit of money and looking at engineering discipline and bringing some method to the madness that's out there. Thanks for listening. Until next time, stay healthy and stay well. And let's get on board with maturity level 3 in software.
Thank you for tuning in to Real Talk. Be sure to join your host, Sam Holcman, again for another edition of our program. We'll have more real topics of discussion then.